Ricky Rose has finally delivered his Port of Miami sequel album that dropped on Friday. With a host of familiar names featured on the track, how does Port of Miami 2 rate as a follow-up to Ross's debut of the same name? Hi, it's Jasmine, and if you're new here, consider subscribing to keep in touch with lots of content. And without further ado, let's get into Port of Miami 2 by Rick Ross. The album artwork is a replica of Ross's 2006 offering with a little twist. Renzel pays homage to both the album's prequel as well as his late manager Big Bo, who passed away in 2017. Now the album opens up with Act a Fool, the Wale feature that was released as a lead single about a month ago. The heavy-hitting hit Latin track sounds like 2010 Rosé. It's a party track that delivers and has Wale in his pocket, now switching his flows back and forth, and is a decent opener. You'd be pretty surprised that it's pretty much the main party track on the whole album. Now a Ross album would not be a Ross album without his typical mafioso tracks. Turnpike Ike follows in the long line of tracks such as Diced Pineapples, Super High, and Aston Martin music. And as you can picture here, Ross looking at his empire and achievements, toasting to his high life with his lady. The track is an easy listen, and his audience is really used to this, so no surprises that Ross sounds extremely confident here. Now the ominous beat on Nobody's Favorite is an incredible mood setter. You know that this is a street track with serious undertones at the first time of asking. Ross paints street visions pretty authentically. A hustler on the rise, describing the view on the way up. The gunplay feature is appropriate here. His gritty descriptions are effortless, and his choice to have him as a feature on the track is commendable. Now he also carries the theme pretty well. Setting moods on albums is not easy, and even the most experienced artists have struggled with stringing cohesion. But by track 4, you realize that Rose is not a novice at this. Now the Summer Walker assisted track, appropriately named Summer Rain, is very reminiscent of Usher's assist on Touching You. The SWV sample is easy on the ear and you can't miss it, with the R&B group's voice lacing the track more as ad-libs. By this point, we've seen Party Ross, Mafioso Ross, Street Ross, and here we get mellow and sensual Ross as he serenades and seduces his love interests. The Dej Loaf feature on White Lines is the very reason a lot of people spend a lot of money on surround systems. The airy track has a smooth, synced instrumental lead. Not only that, but Dej Loaf vocals sound heavily digitized and come off as more of an instrument than actual vocals. The Spanish spoken lines at the beginning of the track are a precursor to the image painted on the track, and it wouldn't take Einstein's brain to decipher what exactly the white lines in question are. And while the subject matter and actions discussed are even questionable, the track is a good listen. Big Time is a return to the mafioso sound, and once you hear the word time, you know Swiss Beats is involved. Now here you find where Ross is arguably at his best, one of the best at painting aspirational rap. And this is an ode to what it means to hustle and actually make it. It's a celebratory track, and whenever you hear someone name drop Jay-Z as the company he keeps, you know there's a lot of flossing involved. Bogus Charms is a return to the streets. Ross uses the illusion that all that glitters is not gold, and is very true for the streets. The track is somber, and he appears to address the conditions that many accuse the rap community for not addressing. The cautionary tales, the lost lives, the consequences of the streets. And it's not the flossy side that many are accustomed to. But once again, Ross's feature is extremely appropriate, almost deliberate. Now, Meek Mill has been the poster child for criminal justice reform, and he has taken it into his stride. Now, lately his music has been very substantive, and his feature on Bogus Charms is no different. I'm particularly impressed by this verse on this track. This was a very different street side from Nobody's Favorite. Not aggressive, not complimentary, but somber. Rich Lifestyle carries an air of Big Brother talk. Both Ross and the late Nipsey Hussle admonish the listener and force them to own up to who they are. What have you achieved, and who do you claim to be? Nipsey uses the tale of Tekashi 6ix9ine to illustrate his point. Now you might call it a diss, but in reality it's more of a description. Now Nipsey speaks as one of those who has seen his kind before. This is yet another cautionary track, but with a different tone. more of a reprimand than a mourning that we heard on Bogus Charms. Yet again, you have to be impressed with the choice of the artists on the feature. The late Nipsey definitely impressed. Now, Born to Kill is a return to the aggression. The image of a hustler comes to the fore here. The heavy-hitting beat is supported by yet an appropriate feature by none other than the Snowman himself. Jeezy is great at illustrating the overall image and feel of the track. Now, the only issue with the track is probably that you want to hear more from Jeezy. Definitely a favorite on the album though. This track has a great replay value. Now, Fasinated has Ross in a pensive reflection, looking back at his youth from the everyday struggles of poverty to his relationship with his father and moreover, his curiosity with all that was going on around him during his formative years. The Bill Weather sample also does the track justice. It creates a grittiness in which Ross describes the toughness that it takes to make it out of the gutter. Pretty much what inspires a young person in his shoes, and who can say that they can't relate to that subject matter? Wanting the glitz and glamour of success, but realizing the scale of your challenges. Basically the story of all our lives. Now, Ross reflects on his near-death situation on Still I Pray, another reflective track. Now, the Sunshine track sees Ross appreciate his life with a cross of appreciation for both the living and the dead. Ball Greasy and YFN Lucci offer their outlooks on his track and deliver a hood perspective that is not heavy on sadness, but also carries a positive outlook. Running the Streets offers a dual outlook on the street life, describing a man who runs the risks of the street but has something to lose in the shape of a woman in his life who offers her unlimited support for him. The persona in question seems to realize that he needs to make a change, not only for his sake, but for the woman that he loves, to reward her with love to fill his commitment. The feature enlists young rappers Denzel Curry and A Boogie, who through their youth understand the topic well and channel the emotion through the song appropriately. Vegas Residency leads off with an observation, and that's really what it is, that Kanye is different. Now, Rose is not castigating him, but rather stating what he perceives. And that's what it seems like the rest of the track is. He uses this time though to say that he, unlike Kanye, will not change, and you can count on that. Ross takes on the role as commentator and speaks on his own life events, what he feels his role in this niche is. The track is ambivalent in that Ross is not as emotive as he is on his other track. And when you think of it, that's kind of what a commentator should do. Be neutral. The track is another smooth listen. Maybach Music 4 takes its time to start, that's for sure. At this point, Ross is still reflecting on his life, which is rather appropriate given the subject matter, but this time he describes his lavish lifestyle in a more toned down manner. John Legend does great on the chorus, while Lil Wayne gives his obligatory line about women's genitalia. However, he does attempt to paint a picture relative to the track's toned down lavish floss. It's a decent track and is about what you would expect from all three artists. Well, what can I say about Gold Roses? It would appear that the album's jewel feature was left as the closer. The reunion of Rose and Drake post Meek Mill beef has served up a pair of good tracks. Drake does what he does. He describes his life from the eye of Drake and somehow has the ability to make the listener feel as though he's telling the listener's story. Now, Ross floats in and compliments Drake's chorus pretty well. It's pretty appropriate to close the album this way. Overall, the impression the album gives is a very positive one, undoubtedly one of Ross's best, if not his best. You obviously have to live with the album longer and pick out the little hidden gems and maybe develop a liking for a track that you may have overlooked. But Ross did limit the club content on this one and chose to tell more stories, and maybe it was his near-death experience or just a different phase that the Miami rapper is entering in. But based on a couple of listens, this is one of the albums that will rise to the top of his discography. Favorites at the moment would be Nobody's Favorite, Bogus Charms, Rich Lifestyle, and Born to Kill, but for now, we'll let the album live and we'll revisit it once it's sat with us for a little while. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and if you want to keep up with what we have going on the channel, consider hitting that sub button. You made it this far, so you might as well. But until next time, peace.